Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast here at MODEX 2020 in Atlanta. We are at the New Warehouse Podcast booth, and I am joined by Justin Cramer. He is the co-founder at ProShip. And ProShip is a system that is talking about kind of, he'll tell us a little bit about it. I'm trying to understand a little bit too, so I'm educating here myself as well. So Justin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks for coming by the booth. So why don't you get into, I guess, kind of tell us about what ProShip is, and then since you're co-founder, why don't you get into how ProShip kind of came about as well, and how you guys kind of founded it? What was the need in the market for it?
Sure. So ProShip is a high-speed multi-carrier shipping software.
Okay.
Meaning that we help, once you've gone through your WMS, your point of sale,
right.
Things of that nature, we actually will provide the appropriate carrier documentation for that shipment.
Okay.
So that could be for LTL, it could be for small parcel, it could be for dangerous goods. It could be to a person. So you could have a dedicated ship station where you're applying those labels. It could be to a printer applicator, a Panda, if you will.
All right.
Or it could be through a wave process through one of your more traditional WMSs that print all the labels before you ever go and pick the parcels.
Okay. Got it. Interesting.
So we are at that end of the... we're at the transition point where an order goes from your custody to a carrier's custody on its way to your end customer.
Got it, okay. And you're kind of designating what's the right mode for it to go.
We are finding the most effective mode for many, many things. Now, at the surface level, it's easiest to go, we're looking for the lowest cost mode that's going to meet or exceed a customer's expectation. However, many customers put a lot of limitations on that.
Okay.
They say, we only want to use carrier A for this region of the country. We only use carrier B for this type of product because of handling needs.
Got it.
Okay? So we have to take all those other complexities into account, and our job is to do that in such a fashion that it is sub-second, such that you can run your printer applicator lines as fast as possible, so that you can do batches in the 5,000s, tens of thousands, or dozens of tens of thousands of orders at the same time, depending upon the way you're executing within that facility.
Okay.
As well as being able to do those 2 or 3 orders at a time when a store associate gets an opportunity to fulfill from within that store.
All right. Interesting. So now you're going to talk to us a little bit about, I guess, that ship from store idea and the omni-channel fulfillment. So you're there on the kind of the in-between when the order is being processed, right, to designate which way it's actually going to go. And I guess one question on that. So these parameters, like you mentioned, like just this region of the country we want to ship in this mode. So now, are those parameters something that the customer is able to constantly kind of update as their business changes?
That's the expectation, right? So a great case in point, we have some very large shippers.
Right.
And as many of your listeners may know, during the last couple of years, UPS and FedEx has started putting quotas on you. Right. So you need to be within these bands, and if you exceed those bands, you're in trouble. Right. There's penalties and guarantees go away and things of that nature. So the ability to actually say, okay, we have exceeded our band, or we are approaching our band to this particular portion of the country. Let's shift, even though it may cost us a little bit more. Let's shift some of that throughput to carrier B. Let's move it to a regional. Let's move it to the secondary national carrier that we're using. Something of that nature. Ensures that those packages continue to go out. Ensures that as one carrier's network gets filled up and the other doesn't, you're able to take advantage of that, right? And those parameters, they do change very fast. Some of them come from the carriers. Many of them come from our customers themselves, the actual retailers, manufacturers, and 3PLs.
Okay, very interesting, very interesting. So talk to us a little bit about the omni-channel fulfillment side and this whole concept of ship from the store.
Well, let's face it, omni-channel fulfillment is probably one of the most important changes we're seeing in the industry right now, and it's something that's still in progress.
Right.
Okay, so for your listeners out there who are just like, oh, well, we have this retail DC, we have this e-commerce DC, we're not shipping from store, you're not alone.
Right.
Okay, there's a lot of companies out there that have some very dedicated paths that they're just now starting to figure out how to make them more of an omni-fulfillment.
Right.
And I want to pair omni-fulfillment with your enterprise software stack. And when I say enterprise software stack, I'm talking about all the major pieces of software that is between your customer and your customer receiving that order. So that's your e-commerce suite. That's an order management system or an OMS. That's might be the ERP. They've kind of been being pushed aside a little bit just to accounting pieces.
Right.
But it's definitely going to be the point of sale and the warehouse management software. And at the end of all that, of course, is our shipping software.
Right.
But throughout that entire process, the e-commerce suite can say, okay, I know I've got widget A.
Right.
Goes to the OMS and says, where can we fulfill widget A from? Can I make this a same-day delivery with Deliv or something of that nature? Or does this have to be a 3-day delivery? And in order to determine that, the OMS is going to find the sources from the point of sales and WMSs, and then it's going to check with software like ours to say, what does that last mile cost?
Okay.
Is there availability for Deliv in that city? I lived outside of Chicago.
Right.
I live just outside of Deliv's service area.
Right.
So even though I'm in a major city, I'm unavailable for it.
Right.
That shopping cart needs to show me that immediately because we want to set the appropriate expectation.
Right.
Once we've set the appropriate expectation at the top of that stack, as it goes down, as it gets distributed to a store, a warehouse, a manufacturer, or a 3PL partner, then we want to execute it properly. If our fulfillment time goes quickly, and let's say we assume that after 1 o'clock, nothing's going to leave the warehouse that day, but we've got a good crew, so they're able to get another couple thousand loads in that day.
Right.
Now this gives me an opportunity at the time we're producing that label to say, well, I was going to use, had this gone out tomorrow, we'd have to use a ground label.
Okay.
Maybe I can use a postal last mile label and shave 30% more off of that cost.
Interesting. So ProShip itself will kind of call that out to the user.
Basically, it doesn't even have to call it out. It is, we hand you the correct label based upon what trailers are at the warehouse, or if we're in a store, have you done your pickup call for the day? If so, has that pickup happened for today? Right. So based upon those real times that are thresholds throughout the day, if you get better fulfillment, you get more out at a lower cost. On the other hand, the other way around, it's a safety net as well. Right. So now if for some reason we push that to a store, there was no boomerang process to pull that order back after 2 hours, we have to fill it the next day. Originally, we told the OMS that'll probably be a ground shipment. Now we may have to express it. On the other hand, it's not going to express unduly. What I mean by this is we're in Atlanta, right? If we're trying to ship to Macon, we can get ground there next day. Right? There's no reason to put an express label on that. That's just wasting everybody's money, right? It doesn't make the customer any happier, and definitely doesn't make the logistics managers any happier.
Right.
So within reason, you're going to accelerate that based upon the zone it actually is going to.
Interesting. So now what about, obviously one of the big things about shipping and transportation, right, is everyone's looking to get the lowest cost as possible, right, but also keep that service level. So now how does ProShip, I guess, implementing this system, how does it really kind of maybe give more visibility, but also just intuitively help you to optimize and reduce those kind of costs?
And again, that's where I say it's the whole enterprise software stack, because that starts at the OMS. Okay. The OMS communicating and going, hey, I have this inventory in these X locations. Let's say they narrowed it down to 5 locations. Which one is actually the most cost effective for me to ship? And let me give you an example here, because this is where though everybody is starting to understand store and warehouse, 3PL and manufacturer, they're not also taken into account. Because your traditional thought is, well, if I go to my 3PL, my carrying costs are huge. Okay, so let's say my carrying costs go from $8 to $10 on a particular item.
Right.
But my shipping costs drop from $30 to $15. What's the better transaction?
Gotcha.
Okay, and so this is where advising all the way up at the OMS level helps to make good decisions to where we're actually going to source those from. And it is the sourcing of that, sourcing it as close to the end user as possible, that actually saves the most money, as well as reduces the time to customer, which is everything everybody is looking for.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So one of our customers, Kohl's, we helped them bring on ship from store back in 2016.
Right.
That act alone, not counting any cost reductions, anything like that, reduced their time to customer by a half a day nationally.
Wow, that's huge.
It's when you think about the sheer number of shipments that a company that size produces, every customer getting something an average a half a day faster, that's happier customers. That's why people keep going back.
Very interesting stuff. So now I'm curious actually how it sounds like ProShip is very useful and obviously can optimize kind of how you're shipping and all those different things. So I'm curious, what's your background and how did the idea of ProShip actually come up? You're one of the founders, so how did you guys actually get into this?
My background is actually as a mechanic in the naval nuclear power plants. So I operated the fluid systems that ran aircraft carriers, basically, aircraft carriers and submarines. And we decided we wanted to do something simpler, so of course we got out and got into multi-carrier shipping. No, it's just much like something which has a lot of clear requirements that can be optimized. Multi-carrier shipping just worked well with me and the other co-founders' thought processes, because it's very, there's only one right answer.
Right.
Okay. For that minute. Now the answer may change in another few minutes, right?
Yeah.
Especially as that UPS trailer pulls. Now all of a sudden the answer is FedEx, right? But the reality is that it's a very, there's a lot of compliance to go through, which we can make seamless.
Yeah.
There's a lot of calculations to go through, which we can make seamless.
Okay.
So then it's a matter of just staying within your competency, right? So a lot of our competitors, especially when we started back in 2001, they're not really in the multi-carrier shipping system anymore.
Right.
They've moved to WMSs. They've moved to full-blown TMSs.
Yeah.
They've moved to global transportation systems.
Right.
And now we're starting to see them come to us to power the back end of those, because all we do is the small pulsar carriers, the LTL carriers, and of course the connectivity between the components.
Gotcha. All right, really interesting stuff. So how can people find out more information about ProShip?
Well, of course, you can go to ProShipping.com. That's where you'll find all of our information. We're also on Twitter and LinkedIn and things of that nature. Okay. But if you go to ProShipping.com, you'll find all those links there. And of course, we've got a pretty active news site that our marketing folks do a great job of putting content out related to the industry almost every business day.
Oh, really interesting stuff. So that is really useful actually for our audience. So we'll definitely post that information on newwarehouse.com. And Justin, thank you so much for stopping by the booth and talking to us.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.